What the heck? We got Dwight Heck in the lab. Coming up, live in the lab with Keith Billis.
Hi, I'm Keith Billis, and this is Live in the Lab.
All right. A little bit of weirdness in front of the camera there for anybody who's watching. So I'm like, hey, where's the button? Where's the button? I can't get it going.
How did you go viral on TikTok?
You were on America's Got Talent. How much do you get paid to be on AGT? Oh, you didn't get paid. Keith and Steve here in live in the lab.
You're a great interviewer. I love it.
48 miles, 48 hours. And not just once. You ain't seen nothing yet. I hit 50 last time and I'm like, yeah, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. So trust me, things are to keep. You have no time for the BS that much of society seems to put on the table. Why is that? Like what you're talking about is real right now. There's just no bullshit here, but it's just real.
We brought you in with some Marley. I said, Joseph, let's talk music for a second. We said, well, Keith, oldies, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've never talked to a sir before. Why are you a sir? In many ways, we're the same story. I came from nothing. You came from nothing.
I think the old saying goes that if you want a trophy, you climb Everest. If you want respect, you climb K2.
I've built an around myself, and it's pretty fascinating when you can have a conversation with yourself with your own knowledge. Have you done that before? Why are we rushing to make these tools if they're all they're going to do is hurt humanity?
Does the world need an Oppenheimer moment with AI?
What a fun show.
Hey, nation. Hey, what's going on? You got Keith Billis sitting here. What the heck is going on? Dwight Heck joining us in the lab today. Best-selling author, boom. Podcast host, boom. Entrepreneur, boom. Speaker, boom. But here's the thing. The guy's from Edmonton. He's probably an Oilers fan. Oh my God. So listen, the Business Athlete Nation. You know I'm from Winnipeg, home of the Winnipeg Jets, of course. Home of the Stanley Cup contending Winnipeg Jets, of course. And I got my friend Dwight just across the prairies in the burg of Edmonton, Alberta, joining us here today. What the heck is he doing out there? I don't know. So we're bringing Dwight in a few moments. He's sitting over there in the green room, waiting to hear what Uncle Keith has to say. I said, hey, Dwight, I expect you know nothing about me, you know nothing about the show, but I invite you to sit back and watch the opener. Watch me throw those Oilers under the bus. You know, Dwight, I just grew up chasing the Oilers, chasing Fear, chasing Gretzky, chasing Messier, chasing everybody. I wake up today chasing McDavid, chasing Draisaitl. Like, what the fuck, man? Honest to God. Honest to God. One of my best friends is an Oilers fan. Not my best friend anymore. Sorry. Hey, so, you come to the lab for inspiring conversation, interesting guests. I'm sorry we don't have one here today because Dwight's from Edmonton. So if you're looking for an interesting guest, come tomorrow. I didn't realize that my producer, they bring people from Arizona, from Edmonton, these places that I don't know, man. Uncle Keith, the old chief bapl here is a little bit disconcerted about the whole thing. Hey, listen, okay, here, let's just get right into this quickly before we bring Dwight into the lab. If you are a creator, I'm enunciating it for you guys, a creator. If you're a creator and you have some knowledge in that skull of yours, you got knowledge. Maybe you've achieved something, not the resume. No, the resume is in ChatGPT. I want to know what you've done, what you've accomplished. Maybe you've run a marathon. Maybe you've written a book. Maybe you've started a business. Maybe you've done something and you take it for granted and everybody around you is like, hey, Joe. Yeah. Hey, Steve. Yeah. Hey, Lisa. Yeah. You're pretty smart. You have all that knowledge in your head. Why don't you sell it to people? Nah, I don't know how to do that. Why don't you start a podcast? I don't know how to do that. Hey, come knock on my door. Come see what's going on in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. You know how Apple launched the App Store and Patrick Mork and my friends at Google launched the Google Play Store? Well, we're launching the Academy, the Creator Store. Bring your course to the lab. We'll share in the revenue. We will help you unlock that knowledge in your skull. And we'll monetize it. We'll promote it. We'll make you some cash. Well, Uncle Keith loves the cash. The chief bapl loves making the cash. So if you're inspired about making money, but you don't know where to start, come knock on our door here in the lab and we'll say, hey, let's get started. That's launching soon. The Academy in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. All right. So we've thrown Edmonton under the bus. We've talked about the Academy at the Business Athlete Performance Lab. One last quick thing before we bring Dwight into the lab. Sometimes you meet people throughout your day where you just ask yourselves, why are they so kind? I met a fellow this morning, Nishiva. Hey, Nishiva, what's shaking, man? Reached out and said, hey, I got some people that should be on your show. I'm like, never even met this guy before. He's like, you keep showing up. I keep seeing you on the feeds. You're just all over the place. I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. He's like, well, the fact you show up every time inspires me to introduce you to some people that need to be on your show because I like what you're doing. I like what you stand for. So Nishiva, full of vitamin G, man. Thanks for sticking up for the lab. Thanks for promoting the lab. And thanks for sending great people our way. Before we go, to bring in Dwight. Subscribe to our show. Get it delivered to your inbox. Inside.bapl.ai. Or go to YouTube, Keith in the Lab. You want to get all that done, just subscribe, please. Pay the bills. All right, okay. We're going to bring Mr. Give a Heck, Dwight Heck into the lab. And of course, he puts his Oilers hat on. Dwight Heck.
Keith.
What's going on, man? So I should have put...
After that intro, I had to put it on. You're lucky I didn't put my full jersey on, man. My jerseys have Give a Heck on the back, by the way. I'm also a season ticket holder, and I watched us kick LA's ass last night. So what's up, brother?
Yeah, there you go. So I guess it's funny. I came downstairs here to the lab and I threw the old system on, and I'm like, "All right, the guys from Edmonton. I should go run back upstairs and throw my Jets jersey." I'm like, "Nah,
we could do that. We could take a 2-minute section. I got about 8 different ones I could wear, and right.
Or you could just pull all those Stanley Cups out of your rear end and put them on the table and you can say, "Hey."
What is it? 40, 50 years? Oh, Winnipeg's never won a cup. That's right. I forgot.
Exactly.
Damn, that must sting just a bit.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's been 30. I don't care how long it's been since we've won. We've won.
All right. So it's nice that I get to control the camera here. And right now, Dwight is on the screen. So I'm talking to all of you.
Can't see this? I'm a smart ass because I always promised myself in life I'd never be a dumbass. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Dwight, I'm full of gratitude, man. Thanks for joining me here in the lab. All laughs aside. Edmonton, Alberta. Give a Heck. Author, podcaster, lifestyle, finance coach, a guy with hats, entrepreneur, speaker. Dude, where do you start?
Where did I start? Well, I came out of my mother's womb and look where I'm at.
Look where you're at.
I'm still, you know what? For the people that didn't see prior, if I take my toque off, I'm bald like I was when I was a baby. Oh. That's my goal. My goal is to revert back to the fetal position before I pass.
That's it. So, Dwight, you're joining us from Edmonton. You're a writer, podcaster, finance coach, lifestyle coach, entrepreneur, speaker, a man of many talents.
Yeah. What do they say, though? Master of none? How's that work?
Is that how it works? Yeah, man of many. Is that what it is?
Where do I start? Where do you want me to start, brother? All of it is a combination of, I guess the best way to put it kind of sounds cheesy. I woke up one day and said, I do all this stuff for people. I do all this crap. And people talk about not wanting the music to die inside of them. And I'm not talking about the actual, playing on a keyboard, playing guitar. I'm talking about the knowledge, the experiences that I've gone through from my origin as a little kid all the way to where I am. And, if I died tomorrow, have I made a big enough difference? Yeah, I've made a difference as a single dad of 5 kids, raising them to adulthood. But have I made enough difference to people outside of my MMA, my money-making activity, which is my finance planning practice? Have I gone out and I've done things that are going to touch people well after I'm gone? Because we don't have a promise tomorrow, brother. I could die an hour after we're done recording. And have I made an impact? Have I made a difference? Have I given a heck about other people, right? So that's basically why I do what I do and why I continue to level up my game and work on my speaking business so I can go out and share my message. Because I've been a speaker in the finance world on a captive basis for the last 21 years, standing in front of dudes and dudesses that want to learn about, how to do a strategy or help somebody out financially or get between their 6 inches. And I woke up one day and thought, you know what? This is captive. These people are here because they want continuing education credits, or their boss told them they had to come from their brokerage or whatever. I want to go places where people are there because they want hired. They're looking to personally develop their lives. They're looking to stop being camped in their mindset. They want to start climbing, because those are all the things I wasn't before I started on this journey, right?
Single dad of 5 kids.
Yep.
You need to be You need to be on my subsidiary show with Di Manuel called Two Dads in a Lab Trying to Be 2% Better.
I know Di very well, by the way.
Do you know Di Manuel?
Yes, Di and I have been friends for quite a few years. He's been on my podcast I met him in 2020. I belonged to his men's group for the longest time, for just about 2 years. I just had a video call with Di maybe 2 months ago. We caught up, and I know Di very well, brother.
Well, then there you go, man. It's a small freaking world here in Canada. Hey, to the world. You got Keith in Manitoba, you got Dwight in Alberta, and you got Di, who's not even on the show. We're just talking in front of his back.
He's an amazing guy. He knows my origin. He's quite cool. His new podcast is just blowing it up too. So I'm pretty proud of the guy.
Yeah, 2% better, 2% solution. Yeah, so we took his 2% solution, we took live in the lab, put it into a blender, and have created two dads in a lab trying to be 2% better.
That's awesome.
And talking to dads. So we had Chad Hufford on the show last week, dad of 6 kids. And you with 5 kids, I think that you might have to be
four daughters.
Oh.
And then my son was the last. And that's why I have no hair. It's all the years of dope.
Yeah.
Hating myself.
Your 4 daughters, Di's 2 daughters. You guys have a lot in common.
Yeah. Him and I talk about. I know a lot about his family. He's pretty cool.
Oh, there you go.
Tell him. Just say, hey, brother, why did you keep the secret of the Edmontonian under the rock?
Yeah.
Let him slither out.
Exactly. Jesus. So it's clear that you're having some fun with the last name, because you really can, it's a heck of a last name to make a heck of a lot of money and create a heck of a brand behind it. Dwight Heck.
Yeah. I only created the brand too during the pandemic. It was because of, I don't know about you, brother, but a lot of people sat on their ass during the pandemic. And after the pandemic is over, they're still sucking their thumbs and haven't accomplished shit. And I belong to a mastermind of a bunch of people, and a buddy of mine, when they closed the world down, within days, he had us on a call and he says, what are you guys going to do? Where are you going to be on the end of this? Are you going to be sitting on your ass and boo-hoo, woo-hoo? Are you going to have developed yourself? This could be 3 weeks, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. Do something, right? You can't, your businesses are off. Like my business was off, but it cratered. Nobody wanted to do anything with money or insurance. So I just started doing things. I started applying. By the summer of 2020, I had applied for the trademark already, and I finally just got it approved last year. It took just about 3 years to get the trademark for Give a Heck in Canada. So,
oh yeah,
I actually got the trademark too.
So interesting. Let me ask an obvious question, maybe obvious to you, but I'm just going to ask the question: why? Why did you trademark it?
Why the trademark? Well, in life, we have 2 different types of brands. So we have a personal brand and we can have a business brand. But I think my personal brand was something I wanted to really focus on, because it could tie into business too, but it could tie into so many different things, right? Because it's very vague, but yet it's specific. Give a heck. What does that mean to most of your people watching or listening? Well, it means like, are you sitting back? Are you giving a heck about life? And I wanted to make it very personal about me, because I was a guy at one point in time, brother. I'd wake up in the morning in quiet desperation. I go to bed at night in quiet desperation. It was horrible. And I didn't know I was living that linear life, just coasting along. I wasn't suffering financially. I was okay, but I wasn't really climbing in my mindset or my life. I wasn't happy. So having a conversation again with the same buddy. His name's Tony Watley. Actually, I think Di knows him as well. He's a friend of mine from the US. His brand is 365 Driven. And he said to me, Dwight, he says, there's so many different things in life you can do. You're successful. You've got all this stuff going on. What can we do to help you? Let's talk as a group. We started throwing ideas around. And within weeks, we had all these different title names. And he says, why wouldn't you want to utilize the power of your last name? And because it's already unique, you've probably been bugged about it your whole life. So sometimes when people are teasing you, that's like another author friend I had on my podcast here recently has a book called Brain Glue. It's a type of brain glue, right? So we threw around what the heck. We threw in all these different variations of heck, and Give a Heck was the one that stuck with me the most. And it also helped I could get the URL, right? So I wanted to be able to, like, my podcast is about bringing people on. And I think what you're doing would be, as a segue, I think you should come on my show, because my show is about bringing on anybody and everybody that's been at a point in their life where they all of a sudden decided they want to serve humankind, serve mankind, and they're elevating their game and going out and giving a heck about others. Like, I've had people on that are so unique, right? I even had Robin Williams Chef on. He was amazing. funny as hell, right? But just things like that. But I've had people that were Holocaust survivors. I want to give a heck about people, brother. I want to make a difference in their lives besides just in Alberta and BC, where I'm licensed to do business, right? I want to be able to take that to the world. And that's what I've been working on the last few years, and going down, the last time I spoke was a couple of years ago down in the US, because I'm very picky about what I do. My message has to be not captive. I want people that are going to be at that event that want to learn, that want to give a heck and change their lives. I want to elevate. I know people are tired of the word pivot. Guess what? It's a great word, because if you're stuck, where else are you going to go? You're either going to climb, you're going to pivot, you're going to decide that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and going to bed in quiet desperation. And that's why I have the Give a Heck brand. I want it to shock people between their 6 inches between their ears, so they actually realize that, hey, maybe there is something I could do different. Or even just to look my website up, giveaheck.com, and go, geez, what's this dude about, right? Maybe they reach out and book a call with me, because the discovery call is not going to cost them nothing. And I have a lot of those the last few years. The first 2 years I did this brand outside of my MMA, my money-making activity, I did it for free. I coached people in Australia, all over the UK, Europe, the US, Canada. I didn't care who it was. I just wanted to see if what I do for the last 21 years in my own business could, pivot and help out people outside of that, because I'd already been doing all this coaching and helping people with their money monsters, their life monsters. And guess what? It was based on my own garbage that I had let creep in, that was controlling my life, that I had to change, that I had to develop and crush, which I've done. Thank goodness. Do I have bad days? No. Do I have bad moments? Yes. And I crush that bitch.
So I want to stay on the on the trademarking of the brand. So let's talk about the benefit of that. So you went and trademarked it, and what have you been able to monetize the brand since you've went ahead and spent some money trademarking it?
Well, let's put it this way. The monetization process of any form of business, whether it's a brand, because I deal with a lot of businesses too, to help them with their businesses, it takes time, right? Mm-hmm. It takes 3 to 5 years. I'm now going into the brand being fully legit. It'll be July of this year. Prior, I had a temporary order that I could use it, say it was trademarked, etc. What has it done for me? It's what do people always say? Somebody, in order, if they want to deal with you in life, they have to know, like, and trust you. Yeah. So the brand has caused me with the podcast. It's all tied together. Even my podcast, my book, it's all about purposeful living with intention, right? So it's caused people to have more exposure to who I am through my personal brand, which ties to my businesses. So yes, indirectly, it's monetizing, because it's bringing people in that would normally not necessarily know, like, and trust me, because they've listened to my podcast. They've maybe grabbed my book. Maybe they've done both, and they reach out to me. So yes, has it been as quick as I want? Is any time we want to create wealth or create money as quick as we want? Hell no, right? But it's working, right? Mm-hmm. I just keep on showing up every day, brother. Mm-hmm. Right? I know around the corner, I always tell people, when you look straight ahead and you see a corner, do you see around it? No, but around that corner could be your explosion, your success. You don't know where it's going to be. So just keep on showing up. And if you have those bad moments, learn how to do things, because that's part of my life coaching business. I coach clients on it. I've been doing it the same myself. To never have a bad day, crush those bad moments, always show up. Live a life of gratefulness. It may sound sappy, but it's true. If you sit back and you wallow in your misery, you're always going to live in that misery, and you're going to be the person that's got your hand out at retirement because you haven't done what it took to make sure that you're secure in your intentional, purposeful life.
What's your story, Dwight? Are you born, raised, and bred in Alberta? Were parents? I'm curious.
I don't know if you know Alberta very well.
I do. Yeah, I'm curious to know why you are who you are, the drive you have, the makeup you have.
Perfect question, brother. I love the question, because I grew up in a small little rural community, a farming community called Camrose, which is roughly, for those, your American listeners, it would be about 50 miles. It's about 80 kilometers from Edmonton. My dad owned, he's now retired, he's still alive, my mom and dad, farm equipment dealership, one of the largest dealerships in Canada, and he was the largest in Western Canada for more than a decade. My dad was one of 18 kids. My mom was one of 9 kids. And I literally, lots of work ethic part of me. A lot of my dad was, okay, we have to give you shelter. We got to give you food. We got to give you love. Those 3 things. Anything beyond that, get out, get off your ass and work. And my first entrepreneur experience was working as a paper boy, like my own individuality, right? People say paper boy. What the hell does that have to do with being an entrepreneur? I had to collect money. I got rejected. I got doors slammed in my face. I had to work in all elements. I had to have tenacity, all the things that you need in order to succeed in business. I started at 12 years of age, a couple paper routes. Plus, on the side, my dad would drag my ass down to his business, and I had to sweep floors. I had to push tools to the mechanics. He didn't make it easy on me. He didn't make it too hard on me. He was teaching me the principles, what life gives you when you are willing to put your ass up, nose down to the grindstone and charge forward, right? So that's what happened. I grew up in that rural community, and now when I was growing up, it was 10,000 people. Now it's around 18,000. I was just there on the weekend to see my parents, and my roots are there. Roots of hard work, the rural community. I'm not saying that outside the rural community people don't work hard, but in our rural community, we're all about connection, unity, supporting one another. My dad was a pillar of the community, but we didn't get stuff handed to us. We had to work hard.
Is that your the biggest lesson you teach your children, Dwight? That attitude, that idea of showing up every single day, got to put the work in?
Oh, absolutely, brother. Like them growing up, especially, see, just to give you a little bit of a highlight of my life, when initially I had joint custody with my kids, things weren't working out, and my kids asked me to make that change. So I spent 3 years getting permanent custody of them, full-time custody of them. A couple of them weren't even teens yet. A few of them were in the teenage years. And I literally had to work hard because people don't realize in a divorce situation, one side of the equation has wiring that works this way. The other side of the equation has wiring this way. And there's sparks, right? It doesn't always, you hear these couples that say, oh, I get along great with my ex and this and that. Most of them are blowing sunshine up your ass. They're not truthful, because after 21 years and the amount of clients I've dealt with all that circumstance. People don't want you to see behind the curtain, behind the facade, right? So I taught my kids, listen, Dad, how are you able to accomplish this stuff? Why do you always communicate with people this way? Well, because you get what you sow. If I'm kind to people, more than enough times I'm going to get kindness back. Maybe not immediately. Maybe it takes a little bit of time for them to know, like, and trust me, because they've been lied to so many times in their lives. You need to always be genuine and honest, be grateful for what you have. And anything that you touch, you need to do I don't care if you're at a job making $5 an hour, you're making $20 an hour. You chose to take that job. You chose to take your time and trade it for the money they're willing to give you. So you give your all out. And one of the things I hear quite often from my kids, you should see my son just told me, he says, I got another compliment from one of the bosses above the bosses that they heard about me, and they reached out to me about how hard of a worker I am and how much they appreciate me. And they have people making way more than him that don't put out like him. And and he says, they asked him, why are you like that? Well, my dad taught me to be this way. Always give 100%. Actually, my dad used to say, give more than that. Give 110, 120%. Give more and expect less. If something comes back to you, that's a bonus round. But if you always give the best to yourself, people will always give best back to you. Maybe not directly. It could be indirectly. Maybe the universe, if you're God-fearing, maybe God gives it back to you. But I always taught my kids that. You got to give 120, 150% of yourself. I always taught them the differences between needs and wants, right? To make enough money for that need of shelter, of food. Anything outside of that is a want, as long as you've prepared yourself for emergencies and tragedies. Obviously, as a finance guy, I'm going to teach them that. Have they got it all? Nah. All 5 of them? Nah, that would be a lie, right? A good portion of them, though, are accelerating. They learned a lot of the lessons that I learned indirectly from my dad. I passed on to them. And that's what we do, brother. Pass on the torch. That's our responsibility. And I want to pass that torch on to more than just my family.
There you go. Dwight, you wrote a book.
Yep.
What prompted the book? And I'm a big fan of the moment behind the moment. When did the light go on in the head to say, damn it, I got something to say. I'm going to write a book.
Oh my gosh. You know, the first time that spark ever went off in me, I was a young guy, and I used to dream about the fact of being an author, of writing a book. And originally, when my kids were growing up and they were really young, they used to put me on the spot. So I was a type of dad that I didn't just shoo them off to bed. I'd take them up to their rooms, and we'd be in a group, and I'd make up stories because I'd read the books, and they go, well, now what? And they say, Dad, do you have anything else we can, we've read all those books already. And I started making up stories, and I originally wanted to be a children's author, and, hasn't materialized yet. I still am going to, because my kids still remind me of some of the stories. And I used to have a series of stories that I'd make up out of the off the top of my head. They'd say, hey, Dad, can you tell us a story tonight? Remember that story you talked about this? And I'd never write them down. And I'd start building on those stories. I had that passion to want to share. So fast forward to, 2019, 2020, we're going into the pandemic. Again, same group of powerful friends of mine, mastermind, and we're talking about stuff. And I go to this event, even though the pandemic, everybody was fearful to travel. I literally jumped through flaming hoops to go to an event down in Utah, and I met a book publisher there. We started talking. Now he's one of my closest friends. We communicate all the time, literally all the time. We become good friends. And he wanted to know about me. We're sitting down having a cocktail, and we're visiting, and he's asking me questions and stuff. Obviously, his switch is turned on for his business. But, I found out after the fact, just because he has that business doesn't mean you qualify for him to want to help you, because he's only looking for people that are leveling up. Next thing I know, he said to me, he says, I want you to seriously consider. He was one of the speakers actually at the event. I want you to seriously consider, you need to get your message out there after everything you've just told me. And, I don't know what it's going to look like. Think about it. Well, I got on a plane. Took me a couple of days to get home because of canceled flights. The pandemic was a bitch on people. Got back to Edmonton, slept on it, woke up, and literally reached out to him. I said, we need to have a call. I want to talk to you more about that. Worked out to about 5.5 months later. Book was done. Book was published, became an Amazon bestseller. And yeah, I wanted to share my message. And because part of it was, you share your message, brother. Like, I go on to podcasts and I get people asking me my origin, and I literally, I'll share it. How many people are listening to the podcast? A few, right? But at the end of the day, they don't remember everything. When you put it in print, right? And the Audible should be done hopefully next month. They can read my origin, right? From the paperboy story. I only touched on a little bit of that, to working for my dad, to where my work ethic came from, to how I help families, how I've been developing my brand based on my experiences of life from my prior business. Because even before I got into finance 21 years ago, I owned a computer consulting firm, right? So I've had a lot of different variations in my life of success, failure, and ridden above that crap. I've had points to where it sucked, but that's why I decided to write the book, so that people could have that tangible. They could actually pick it up. And the most gratifying things I don't know if you want to know any stories, brother, if I can share some, but some of the people that have reached out and how my books touched their lives have literally made me teary, like cry, because they're telling me how it's affected them, how it's made a difference in their lives. And I had no clue when I initially did it. Right. Part of it, I did it because I wanted to feel I was in a place while the pandemic sucks. I haven't seen anybody in like 6-7 weeks and blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to just get out what was going on in my life, but I wanted to feel good about myself. Well, it's gone way beyond that, right? It's literally, have had people tell me it's made them get off their couch. I've had other people tell me it's helped them start their business. And I don't know specifically in the book what made them do that. Maybe it's just the title. Maybe they like the fancy cover, right? I don't know. But that's why I did the book. I wanted to make a difference and have it on print. So no matter what happens to me an hour, a week, a year from now, that it's there forever, right?
The hardest thing about that book was what? Was writing it? Was publishing it? Was
Oh my gosh.
I asked the question because I've asked this question of a number of my guests about writing a book. I've often considered writing a book. And when I ask somebody about writing a book, they're like, no, the best advice I can give you is don't write a fucking book. I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna write a book. Instead
My advice to you would be write a book, to be honest.
I'm going to do a daily show and show up every single day and do it live and call it a show as a service. So we're delivering a show as a service where, we're getting, look at that, man, getting a lot of good old comments here. Alan Olive, you know Alan Olive?
Alan Olive? No. Doesn't ring a bell.
We have guests coming in and saying hello. Anyways, so I put the book aside and said, no, I'm going to do a show. I'll do a book one day. Now I talk to new people. I'm fortunate to talk to a single guest every single day of my life. So I know there's a book coming.
Oh, you got to write a book, right? If not for the fact of would it be right to say that for the vanity of it, because it does make you feel good when people appreciate it. For the fact that it was so cathartic. It was so healing for me. So you asked for the toughest parts of it. We had how it originally started.
Yeah.
I had a call with Mike. His name's Mike Follett from Dream Starters Publishing. Again, anybody wants an intro, I'll introduce you to him. He's a friend. Like 2 3-hour calls, Zoom calls, because he lives in Pittsburgh. I live in Edmonton. I live in God's country. He lives in the dump, like I tell him. But anyway, he's a Penguins fan since we talk about hockey. But we literally, as I'm telling him my story, he sends me this introductory pack of how to do this book, how we're going to work on it, how it's structured, right? It's pretty good. I'm not too bad at writing and stuff. I knew that already. And he says, fill in these little squares, and then that's what we're going to do. Well, it's like 2 pages. I sent him like 8-9 pages before he even reached out to me to have this call. He goes, oh my gosh. At this point in time, we've already done 200 and some bestsellers, and I've never had anybody give me this kind of detail. I'm so excited for our call. Calls are only supposed to be a couple hours. They were like 3 to 4 hours each, right? And then they sent me the initial mock-up of what they thought it should be, and we shifted some stuff around. Then they sent me, they had one of their editors do some writing for me, and she sent me some stuff. They sent me like 23 to 25,000 words. I didn't like it. I cut it down to about 8,000 words. And then I built the book from the template out. I added another close to 25,000 words. The book's 150 some pages. But it was very cathartic. I'd be sitting there, the editor, I'd send them something. They'd send something back saying, oh, maybe you should say it this way, or this doesn't work. And I struggled. I'd be sitting on my couch in the evening after my workday was done, and I'd be working on that chapter, and I'd start crying. And don't think I'm overly sensitive, but I'm reading about my life thinking, geez, I've never really unpacked this shit. I've kept it hidden upstairs in one of the compartments of my brain, and I've stomped it down so often that I've never really realized how it affected this other aspect of my life. And wow, if it affected me, is there anybody else out there like me? Right? We're all unique like our fingerprint, but maybe there's somebody out there like me that struggled, that's been through the trials and tribulations, that reading this will trigger them to unpack things, will trigger them to be able to start climbing and quit being in the valley of despair. But by the time I was done that book, oh my gosh, it was absolutely exhausting. I don't want to scare people, right? Maybe you won't be me. Not everybody's me. I'm not you. But for me, it was very healing. It allowed me and my whole life trajectory when that book was done to it being released and going live changed from the start of October 2020 and meeting Mike to me starting to write the book toward the end of October to it being launched in March of 2021 was so healing for me. And I would highly recommend everybody do it because I literally share. And the whole idea of the book, though, too, was when I started it, it was tied into, again, my brand, Give a Heck, right? Mm-hmm. Origin. Here's my origin. Here's the struggles I went through. Here's the fact that I talk about in there losing, one of the most painful experiences in my life, losing my 4-year-old granddaughter in 2017, to how my life trajectory and all the way up to releasing my podcast is in that book. But it's a trajectory going up. But along the way, I'm honest. This is the hills and valleys I went through, right? And the theme is I had to always suck it up, right? Give a heck. keep on moving forward. So that's why I did the book. I wanted to make sure that that message was able to be shared to others, to resonate. Because, you know, I'll tell you right now, if you actually do the research, very few people make money with books, right? Because you have the initial cost to get it out. And then you think about how many books are released every day in the world, right? Unless you've got you're a celebrity like Matthew McConaughey or you're Will Smith, you know, or anybody like that, your trajectory, your book goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, right? I might be on a I was on a webinar here recently, and I had the pleasure of asking Les Brown some questions. And, you know, I was on there, I was one of the speakers, and Les was on there too on this virtual summit. It was in November. And I'm asking Les questions, and then the people when I got to do my 45 minutes, and then there was quite a few people on there. All of a sudden, I see a spike in my podcast listeners. I see a spike in my book, right? Because that's the way life is. Not everything is always a climb. Sometimes things linear out. You're on that camp, and that can be with anything in our lives, personally, or what we sell as a product or service, who we are. But yeah, the book's been amazing. I think you should do one though. Obviously, I would get on it sooner than later, personally. So anybody that's told you not to do it, I guess you didn't have the service I had. They literally held my hand and walked me through it. If they wouldn't have, would I have done it? I don't know. I'd be lying if I said I would have done it without them. They literally give me a template. They give me a snapshot based on all the hours of video that Mike and I recorded. He gave it to their editors and said, here's what we want. Create a template, right? Do some writing of the chapters, the initial writings. And, you know, maybe some people take all that. I'm not that type of person, right? I needed it to be unique to me. I needed it to be my give a heck. I needed it to be my personality, which is tenacious. And sometimes people say I'm too blunt. Well, then I guess you're not in my tribe. Maybe you're not going to read my book or listen to my podcast. Maybe we'll never meet and sing Kumbaya or do that bro hug. But at the end of the day, I'm me.
There you go. I like that. Hey, me is a powerful thing, right? Me being authentic. That's ultimately what you're teaching your children, right? To be me, to be authentic, to be yourself, right? So, Dwight, what prevents you from getting out of bed every morning?
What prevents me from getting out of bed every morning? Oh my goodness! I think at my age, I'm 56 years of age. I think the thing that keeps me from getting out of bed some mornings is my body aches from the stupid ass shit I did that I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And now I'm suffering, and you go through massage, physio, chiro, whatever. But I think that's about the only thing. Now, if we were to back up, let's say go back to 2017, and the reason I bring up that year is it was a really it was a tumultuous year. Losing my granddaughter really made me check out. I checked out, dude. I checked out. I literally was in the valley of despair. I was not happy. I was sad all the time because I was really close with my granddaughter. At that point in time, I already spent over 2 years going to the hospital to visit her constantly, because she spent sometimes the longest stretch she was in there, never left, was 8.5 months. So I had a hard time checking into anything else but worry about her, right? Worry about her health, worry about my daughter, my oldest daughter. And literally, I was checked out of life. Well, then she passed away. I was grieving. And then we get into that self-pity. Why did you do this, God? Why did this have to happen? And I just literally went into the valley of despair. And I'd be laying in bed in quiet desperation, even though I knew about all this stuff. I've been coaching about it. It doesn't mean that I'm not human. Listen to that again, people. I'm human. I can fall back into the valley of despair. And I was stuck there for a couple years, right? I just literally, and just to be honest, it was something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, right? To feel the way I felt. So I had a real hard time getting out of bed then. I also had a real hard time going to bed. I literally would get caught up on the computer, social media, binge watching TV, and I'd stay up till 5, 6 in the morning. And I was terrible at maintaining life. I was barely hanging on to my business. It was still going. I would put on a brave face. I'd wear that facade. I'd have my calls. I'd go out, see clients and do stuff like that. But I had checked out, and I was living a facade, and it was really tough to get out of bed, brother. It really was. So fast forward, Now today, the only thing stopping me from getting out of bed is aches and pains, and I just gotta, flip one leg over the edge of the bed, flip the other leg over the edge of the bed, get up, get at her.
That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you. Dwight, what's a little piece of advice, a golden, I like to leave nuggets for the audience. And as we work towards wrapping up our conversation today, what's a nugget you would leave the audience that you'd want to make sure that they heard from Dwight Heck, something that came from you, something, that I can leave them to say, hey, Mr. Heck gave this to you. Take this, put it into your bonnet, absorb it, live with it. What would that be?
Oh my gosh. One piece of advice that I could give people that it would dial back to when I was younger is, at the end of the day, if you want to be known, liked, and trusted, you want to move your life forward in life, listen more than you talk. And when you're listening, be engaged in that conversation. Please don't sit back and be that person that's thinking in your mindset, oh my goodness, how can I respond to, Keith? How can I respond to what he's saying? Or, oh, what he's saying doesn't really, I got a better story than that. I got a better message than that. And you're not really listening to what Keith's saying. You're not engaging in the conversation. And that's the biggest thing that I think I had to learn throughout my life. They always say that saying, you got 2 ears, one mouth, whatever, blah, 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 those little phrases. Live a reality of listening to a conversation and being engaged. You will start getting people that'll say to you, this is one of the best conversations I've ever had. And you might not have hardly said anything, just because you learned to shut the hell up and you listened. Yes, you can interject once in a while and focus on your body language. Mm-hmm. And why do I say that? Well, when you're standing and somebody's talking to you and you have your arms crossed and you're kind of tilted back and you're looking around everywhere, you're not engaged. You're not listening. And they know it. They're not going to share to the same level. And not everybody's going to be the same. But people do unconsciously pick up on body language, and they pick up on your tonality. So even that little head nod makes a difference in a conversation. So, and listening.
Absolutely. So then I'm sure you can appreciate what I'm going to say next, Dwight. The best thing that happened to me to become a listener was starting a podcast, starting the show. Because if you look to my first episodes compared to the episodes today, and purely just for making social content, I had my producer say to me the other day, say, Keith, you need to give the guest time, because when we're editing the post-show content, your words are always interrupting their words. So stop talking over topping the guests. So that was one thing that was okay. I need to give the guests more space so that I can create better content. So that was like a tactical thing, Dwight. And then once I did that, the light went on going, wow, this is an even more enjoyable listening experience. The guest is even more engaged with my words when I ask them questions, because they recognize that I'm really paying attention to them. So I'm just going to ask the question and shut the hell up. And man, does it work.
100%.
Like this, anybody who struggles with listening, just do a show, like honest to God, and interview somebody over and over and over, and then go listen to yourself after. You will get better.
And you know what? The thing about doing a podcast, I don't do a daily podcast. Mine's weekly.
Listen, Dwight, I know you're from Edmonton, and people from Edmonton and Alberta, they kind of do things half-assed every now and then. They show up, 9 times out of 10. So it doesn't surprise me that you don't do a daily show, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that, Dwight. So
yeah, because we don't want to take we've taken you out in hockey for the last 4 decades, so I don't want to take you out of the podcast game. So you're right, I won't do a daily show because I'd hate to show you up, Keith. Oh, by the way, were you expecting somebody docile? Wrong guest.
Oh, and you're not getting a docile host, so I guess we're on the same page there, Mr. Heck. Mr. Heck. But listen, man, I've enjoyed our chat. I've enjoyed the conversation. I can't believe we're already 48 minutes into this thing. So, as I look at the clock and I start bringing my guests towards the wrap up, I generally throw this out there, which is there any question I haven't asked you? Is there anything that you wanted to say to the audience today that we didn't get to? Because now is your time for that moment.
Okay, so yes, there'd be lots of things that I think your audience has to understand. We talked about quiet desperation. We talked about being stuck. We talked about those linear lives, being camped in life. Guess what? Most of you people watching or listening to this, one of your biggest problems in life take out the listening aspect, take out all that aspect, is your money monsters. Your financial monsters are what's holding you back. You have a dream, you have an aspiration, you've thought about starting this business, you've thought about going back to school and you're in your 30s, your 40s or whatever, but yet you can't afford it. You're swimming in debt. You live with more month than money. Listen to that. More month than money. You have more days in the month than you have money in your bank account. You slide into lines of credits, you slide into credit cards. Nobody's ever taught you the rules of the money game. Nobody's ever taught you how to balance have a balanced budget. And people go, ooh, budgeting sucks. No, it doesn't. As a guy that's been educating and teaching people for 21 years, it helped me live a purposeful, intentional life. The name of my book, How to Live Life on Purpose, Not by Accident. There's a chapter in there about how to get your money under control, why budgeting and goal setting works. You need to take baby steps. I'm not saying this is going to be easy in your life. Reach out to me. I'll have a call with you and I'll step you through some of the things that can make a difference in your life. I had a call this week with a couple that lives in BC and I was helping them out, and I've been trying for years, literally over a decade, to help them. Both good 6-figure income earners, yet they're living from hand to mouth. They're always, wondering what's going on. Like they have, we have all this money, we have these things, we live a good life, but we really don't know what's going on. We don't know if we have enough money for our retirement. We don't know if we can have a paid vacation right now because we look at our bank account, bring in all this money, and it's not what we think it should be. What's the solution? Well, guess what the answer was time and time again? Hey, let's do a detailed budget. Well, a few nights ago, spent a few hours on the phone with them when we did the first template of it, and they were shocked, right? Well, why do I have to put that number down? Why do I got to put this number down? Well, guess what? Does it come out of your bank account? Absolutely it does. So I'm not sitting here trying to sell you on my service. You can go online and look about it. I've interviewed many guests about podcasts and my podcast about budgeting. You can go read on my website about it, read it in my book. But if you want to live an intentional, purposeful life and know that, you see, one of my missions, and if you go to my website at giveaheck.com, you'll see the first thing at the front says, my mission is to help you live better today, retire comfortably, and die with dignity. And people go, well, that's kind of creepy, die with dignity. Well, your whole life, you're dying. You're living right now, but you're dying. Most of us in society don't know how to actually live. We get caught up in wanting to keep up with our neighbors, our relatives. We go and spend more than we should. We go on that vacation that we shouldn't go on. It takes us 2 years to pay it off. We spend too much at Christmas. We don't understand the difference between a need and a want. And all of a sudden, guess what? It'll be like some of my clients that get referred to me and reach out to me, and they're in their 60s and they want to retire in a year or 5 years. And I go through all this stuff and I have to tell them good news or bad news. Sorry, you can't. And I've had to do that, sadly, more in my 21 years doing this than say to them, oh, yes, you can. And had somebody had the balls to change the education system to make it more relevant to teaching people how to live intentionally and purposefully, we'd live a better life. We'd be more happy in our lives. And it all starts with the fact that everything in life, wouldn't you agree, Keith, involves money. It does, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you didn't have any money, you couldn't pay for all that fancy tech you got. You couldn't pay for, you wouldn't be able to produce your show. You wouldn't be able to live life.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Did that intentionality come to you easily, understanding money?
Oh, shit, no. Nope. Still don't understand it.
So guess what? Life's a journey.
It is.
I still learn more about money. People say to me, well, what? I take courses. I go to conferences. I go online seminars to obviously always sharpen the knife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Stephen Covey would say,
mm-hmm.
always sharpen your saw. Always keep on moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be the biggest thing that I would leave for people, is that you need to get your money knowledge up. You need to understand that I don't care how much debt you have. I help people get out of debt without having to go into, in Canada, they call it consumer protection, or you go into full bankruptcy. I've helped people learn how to do that. Well, I don't have an extra $100 a month. I got a workshop series I go through with people in large rooms and have done in front of thousands of people. I do it online as well for people that teach them how to free up $100 they didn't realize they had. Guess what? It usually ties to the fact that they're spending money that they shouldn't spend. They've gotten caught on the hamster wheel of life. They're going to work, go home, get paid. They got the same habits. They never thought about taking, maybe I should make extra food and take a lunch instead of spending $20 a day every day at Tim Hortons or Starbucks. Oh, wait a minute. If I dial it back and only do that 3 days a week and I free up 2 days a week and I'm spending $20, that's $40. Over a month, that's $160. Wait a minute. Dwight just freed me up $160 and it wasn't a lot of work, but he brought in that realization. And I guess what? I had that happen to me too, brother. It literally is that simple. Oh, what? You have a cell phone plan that has 100 gigs and you're paying $100 a month. How much do you pay for it? Oh, $80, $100. How much data do you use? I don't know. Well, let's check it out. Let's load up your app and look. Oh, you use 20 gig and you use that consistently. Oh, why don't you dial it down and get this package that's $40? Oh, wait a minute. I just freed up more money. Oh, guess what? With this freed up money, now I can do debt roll up and Dwight will teach me how to get rid of my debt. Dwight will teach me how to save for a vacation. Dwight will teach me how to save for retirement. Does it take a long time? For some people, yeah. Some people, it doesn't take a long time. But you know what the key is, Keith? You got to start.
That's
People have to start.
Dwight Heck, we got to start wrapping up the show today. I appreciate you joining us today. Where can people find you? Getaheck.com? Giveaheck.com?
Yeah. Best place, giveaheck.com. You can go and log into there. I just actually had the whole website revamped in January. It went live, the new website, and they're still doing a little bit of tweaking. But yeah, go check it out. You can find out about my book, my podcast, my coaching, my speaking, my finance business. You can find all my social media links on there. You can just click on it and go to it quickly. But yeah, one-stop shop.
Giveaheck.com. Dwight Heck, I'm going to put you back in the green room, say goodbye to the audience, come back and walk you out, okay? Hang tight.
Peace. Take care.
Dwight, bring me up here. We're going to put some tunes on. There we go. Hey, there you go. We get some. Bye, Alan. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for jumping in, audience. Hope you enjoyed the conversation with Dwight Heck today. A little bit of money conversation, a little bit of joshing with the Edmonton Oilers, Winnipeg Jets. Tomorrow, Darren Moss, the hiking podcast guy. Yeah, he does all his podcasts, does all his shows while he's hiking. We're going to invite him here to the lab. Maybe he'll be hiking during his show with us. Who knows? So come tune in tomorrow with myself and Darren. We have Thursday, we got John Brink joining us on Thursday. And of course, on Friday, two dads in a lab attempting. Now we're trying to be 2% better. Myself and Di Manuel, the friend of Dwight. We're going to have Dwight back on our show. Keith and Di show. Him and his 500 kids. Dwight Heck. Edmontonian. All right. Uncle Keith's getting out of here. The Chief bapl is going to rock and roll. Out of here for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's conversation. Enjoy your day today. You know where to find us. X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Fuck, we're everywhere. We are just all over the place. You know how it works. We go live noon Central. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. That's 10 o'clock Pacific. And then we leave it on demand. On Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, just everywhere. We're making good, inspiring conversation for you every single day. I'm getting out of here. You guys have yourself a wonderful day.